to the financial clinic. I hope you were here last week. And if you were here last week, I believe that you had a great time, just like I had. All right, so tell someone we are live now. All your friends, tell them now that we are live. My name is Darius Okumbi. Okay, I I am your number one financial clarity coach, and I have helped a lot of people transit from financial chaos to financial tranquility. And that is what we do here. We make people make that move. And that's what we are going to be doing here this evening. All right. So, over the last 6 years, I have been able to help several clients to simplify their financial lives. All right. Some of them have been able to transition from financial scarcity to financial stability. Wow. And that is one of the greatest things we have done for most of our clients. All right. Most of our clients have been able to increase their net worth over time. And it's just super. And we can also do that for you. Right? So, and this is an avenue to provide those resources for you freely and accessible to everyone. All right? So, don't miss it here. Every Thursday, we are here, 7 p.m. live on YouTube. All right, so make sure you call your friends, tell people, and let them know. So if you can hear me, I would like you to like this group, this video. I want you to also follow us, subscribe. We look forward to those supports that you can give to us. All right, so this evening, we are going to be talking about something very important, something that catches the interest of people. And we are going to be taking it a notch higher from where we stopped last week. Last week, we asked the question, is 2025 going to be a tough year? If yes, what can you do? All right. So part of what you can do is to manage your expenses. And that is what we are going to be talking about today. Thank you, Afolabi. Great content as always. Yeah, it's going to be a greater one this evening. All right, I want you to sit tight and just be ready for it this evening as we talk about how to manage your expenses. All right, and every one of us make expenses every day, every time we make expenses. Anytime you hear that alert on your account. Oh wow, hello from Tokyo. Yeah, SD, is good to see you. Please, yeah, it's good to see everyone here joining us this evening. It's going to be another amazing time. Love from India. Beautiful. Wow, awesome. Yeah, we're good. So let me know where you're watching from. You can drop your messages here. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me meet you today. All right. Okay, Okay, I don't understand this. I don't understand this, but it's going to be another great time this evening. All right, it's going to be another great time this evening. So as we enter into 2025, how do you manage your finances? How? How do you do this? How do you manage your expenses? Many people tend to complain about expense. And people say, wow, money is never enough. The reason why money is never enough for most people is because of the expenses. Yeah, because of the expenses. And say, everybody knows that money doesn't go around, right? Money is never enough anywhere. Even the richest people are saying money is not enough. I mean, but while the rich says that, and the poor says the same thing, we find out that everybody is not covering the same cost. Some people are saying money is not enough because the expense is too much. Other people are saying money is not enough because they have greater projects to take on. Right? So, what is the reason why your money is not enough? And that's what we are going to be talking about today. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, welcome. I've seen people from Turkey, people from Nigeria, people from London. Well, it's good to have you all here. All right. So, most times, we all have to spend and we don't have, and many times we find out that people do not even have restriction towards what they spend. All right. Most people make these statements and say, oh, it's never enough to spend. And I don't have enough income. I'm not getting enough as expected. I am not getting this and that, giving different complaints as to why this money is not hitting the ground. All right. But one thing I have found out is this, is that expenses can actually ruin your future if you don't know how to manage it properly. Yeah. Expenses can ruin your future if you don't know how to manage it properly. All right. So we're going to be talking about how you can do that in the context of 2025. Last week, we established that there might be not so much a difference between the financial reality of now, of today, and the financial reality of 2025. So everybody is supposed to brace up. So what are the steps you need to take? And that's what we'll be talking about today. All right. But this is it. Have you ever seen anyone who, or maybe in a movie, you've seen something like somebody has made a lot of money, and then after the person has made a lot of money, they become something else. You really cannot talk to them. You really see that their life has changed. And many times, some of those people, they no longer even deal with friends, family, and all that. They become above everyone. And you see, to a large extent, you begin to think, was this not my friend before now? What has happened? What has changed? And you just don't seem to understand who this friend of yours is again. This happens in many situations. While some might not disregard their friends, but some others will do that. But what you find out is that a couple of years later, they lose everything. They lose everything after a couple of years. And what went wrong? Expenses. You know, many times when people do not know the right things to do, they become prodigal in nature, such that even their expenses, they don't know how to control it. They don't know how to manage it, and this ruins them. So eventually you see people like this go into depression. Have you ever met anyone like that? If you've met anyone like that, then to many people who may be watching me this evening, such things might be encroaching your door shortly if you're not careful. Right? How do I know that this might be happening, or this might be on its way to your house also? This is it. So let's assume. So I stay in Nigeria. So I'm going to be talking in terms of Naira. And in Nigeria, you have about 1,700 Naira being equal to $1. All right. So let's assume that there is this person, and the person made 10,000 Naira. Okay. That should be a little bit, that should be about $60, right? Makes 10,000 Naira. And you just say, okay, I've made this 10,000 Naira. You say, okay, let me go and see what I can do with it. So you decide to go and maybe go to an eatery, and then you say, okay, 10,000 Naira, oh, let me just cool down and at least take care of myself. So 4,000 Naira, you use that for food. 2,000 Naira, you use that for data. And then a friend of yours called you and say, guy, Alpha, I did broke. What can you do for me? I pay the guy 2,000 Naira again. Pay some other debts, 2,000 Naira, and then you go and see that you have no money left. Now, after this, what do? You hustle back. You now say, oh, maybe you call the person that gave you the initial job, that paid you 10,000 Naira, and say, guy, Alpha, in case you have that deal again, I can run it for you. Now, tell me, what's the difference between this person and the prodigal son that is written in the Bible? Because also, he went with everything. He spent everything and came back to the father who had given him everything before now. And the same way, many people do this month in, month out, and they do this with their employers. Many people, they do this with maybe someone that contracted them, maybe someone that is their employer. And for employers, people do this every month. Once you have been paid your salary, you just carry the whole salary. In 15 days, in 10 days, everything is gone. And then you come back and say, oh, we are broke. You know, this money doesn't last. The money is not enough. The truth is, even if that income is increased, you will likely repeat the same lifestyle. Even if that happens. So, for this person that got 10,000 naira, let's say he now gets an 100k job. What happens? Now begins to say, wow, I've made it. This is the financial breakthrough I've been looking for. And then he sees this and says, and when he gets his first 100,000 naira, I say, wow, I need to celebrate my years of going through the pain, going through the struggles. And then you see this guy say, he now joins his colleagues that are earning far above what he's earning. And they say, oh, we go to this restaurant and say, it's my first job. Let me at least go and enjoy the money. So he takes this money and then the guy goes to the restaurant. And by the time the bill comes out, it's 20,000 naira. Wow. Well, that's $12. Thereabout. 20,000 naira. I said, okay, yes, at least I just got the job. And maybe he's owing someone down out there. I mean, before he got the job, he has taken some things on credit. Or he has used the loan app like many people do here in Nigeria. And he pays 30k to that. And then he meets his guys and they were like, wow, guy, you have made it all. And all that. To cut the long story short, this young man loses everything. Within 2 weeks of that salary, everything is gone. And this happens in several places and happens to several people. But the thing is this, such people are prodigal in nature, meaning they cannot account for the resources they get. And this is the reality of many people. And then you say, oh, you want a raise. By the time you get that raise, you find out that the money is not even enough. You get another raise, it is not. Because what happens is this, people begin to increase their lifestyle based on the income they get. People increase their lifestyle based on the income they get. Right? If you spend everything you earn, or almost everything you earn every month, you are a prodigal son. I'm so sorry to tell you, but that is who you are. You are that person that will go and squander everything and come back to get more. And guess what? Such a person, the prodigal son, never had a future. In fact, when it got to a time, after he had finished spending everything, he had to pick menial jobs. That's when some people will begin to remember, I need an extra source of income. I need this and that. It's because I don't have this and that. I have met several people who have done this, right? And I have even worked with them. And that same salary is still able to take care of them. Yeah. If you spend everything you earn by month end, you're a prodigal son. Exactly. You are. All right. So, this is about taking away that prodigality, if there's any word like that, from you. Yeah, some people say, oh, the money is too small. It's not about being prodigal. It's the money is too small. Well, I believe you should have heard this story also. And the story, I'm going to refer to it in the Bible, in the book of Matthew chapter 24. So there was this boss. He was about to take a trip. And the boss said, okay, I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to pay you ahead, okay? I'm going to give you money ahead. So whatever you want, you can do with the money, okay? And he gave them the money, all right? But he told them that by the time I come back, you must get my money back to me, oh. And they were like, okay, sir. The first one, he gave 5 talents. Talent was a form of currency in those days, all right? Then he gave the first one 5 talents. The second one, he gave 2 talents. The last one, he gave 1 talent. Right? So years later, the boss came back and said, guys, I'm back. Okay, so come and give account of what you have been given. All right, so the first one said, okay, you gave me 5 talents and then I have made 5 more. Awesome. The boss welcomed him, congratulated him, and gave him a special seat. The second one, 2 talents. I said, okay, boss, you gave me 2 talents. I've spent 2 talents. I've used these 2 talents to make another 2 talents. And the boss was like, awesome. Wow, welcome to comfort. Okay, I'm going to make you a manager over branches, and told both of them. The last one that had only one talent came and said, okay, sir, yeah, welcome back. And those people that don't perform, they know how to greet you like nothing else. I said, okay, so you gave me one talent. But boss, you did something that offended me. I said, what is it that I did? He said, you're a boss that is not, you don't deal with people fairly. You will give people something and then you expect to reap where you did not sow. Well, for me, I mean, it's against my principle. You gave it to me, but you cannot reap where you did not sow. And he now said, but this is your one talent, and I'm going to give your one talent back to you. And the boss felt bad about it. I said, okay, you knew that I don't reap where I sow, right? But the least you could have done is to give this money to the bank and get returns on investment on it. That's the least I would have expected from you. And then because of that, he sent the guy out, fired him, and leave him to go and roast out there. So the problem is this guy would have, said, he saw that it was small, but even though it was small, it was given to him based on his capacity. Because we do not earn above our capacity. If your capacity increases, your earning will increase. Your earning will increase if your capacity increases. It might take time, but your earning will increase. This little man, one thing the boss said, he said, you wicked and slothful, that lazy servant, because he must have given him that one talent because he was a lazy person. And that's why many times you see people who cannot do anything, who cannot manage their money, and then they begin to say, give me money so that I can start a business. Many people say that. Well, I found out that you don't really need money to start a business. Yes, your earnings will increase if your capacity increases. That's very true. All right, so even when you say it is too small, there is a seed in it. The boss said, you could have put this in the bank. That's the least you could do. There is a little in that money you're being paid monthly, in that income, in that wage, that could actually transform your future. And many people do not sow that little seed. That's why many people remain where they are. All right. There is this Yoruba proverb. It says, so I'm going to just say it in English. And it talks about somebody who is called Longe. It says, there is danger in Longe's farm, and Longe himself is danger. In many people's finances, there is danger, but the biggest disaster is themselves. Because in that, they cannot even manage that which they have been given. They can't. Because money, wealth, is a gift. It's a gift. Because not everybody deserves it. Not everybody gets it. All right. When it comes your way, treat it preciously. Okay. So many people themselves are the center of their problems. Because if you get better, your income will get better. If you get better, you will be richer for it. And people give several excuses when it comes to not able to meet up with their expenses. All right. Give several excuses. I say, when they spend everything in their salary, they look for biggest excuse to give. One of the excuses is that the salary is too small or the income is too small. That's why. But if you notice, you were earning lesser than that and you survived. And when it's given a little notch above, you still don't survive. See, because it's just a little above the minimum wage. The problem is you. The problem is not the money. And I'm going to show you that today. Another excuse that people give is that there are too many needs for this money. That's why I don't, I mean, I have to spend it all and even go into debt. Yeah, I get sometimes the needs could be numerous, but most times what happens is this: you have formed an habit of spending it all, even when the needs were not that much, because we are actually a product of our habits. So even when the needs were not that much, you had learned to spend it all. So we say the needs are much. So next week, I'm going to talk about how to increase your income so that you can answer some of these questions. But with what you currently earn, there are things that you can do. All right? Because even what you earn, you will see that there are some people that when they hear that that's what you earn, to say, you are doing well, oh. Yours is better than your story is better than mine. And that's how the world works. Number 3, people say, there are people that need money and I must support them. Okay. Please understand this. It is their need, but it is your want. It's their need, but it's your want. It's you that wanted to do that. And most times, we know that we should attend to our needs and walk around our wants. Yeah, people will always need money. In fact, one of the things that the Bible says is that the poor you will always have with you. So understand this: you will not solve the problem of everybody. And one of the things that many people do is this: even when they are incapacitated, they stress themselves. They can even go and borrow for someone else. Guys, you cannot treat someone well. You cannot support someone at the expense of yourself. Some people are being chased around because one friend said, go and borrow money for me. Why can't they do that themselves? Say, I've borrowed, and then you are my only friend. You are the only person that can help me. Look, God can always send people to people. All right. But when you are incapacitated, know that, and then know when to pull back. So let me say a little about giving people money. All right. It's good to give. I give also, but I give within a context. And when it comes to giving people, there was a situation like that. One of my proteges needed some money, and I really wanted to help. But I had even told that protege of mine that, I'm going to see what I can do to support you. And at that time, I just had this nudge not to go ahead with it. And it was then I realized something. Because, in fact, in the end, this protege of mine didn't need my money. But this is what happens. Most times, when you give people money, instead of empower them to be able to make money, what you do is you shut down their creative juice. Genesis chapter 1 verse 20 says, be fruitful, but multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion. That's what the Bible says. But every human is meant to be fruitful. No human was designed to depend on the other, except their children. And that's why God puts children in families, but adults are supposed to fend for themselves. So, when someone is not fruitful and you consistently aid the person, you consistently finance the person is still unable to be fruitful because the mind of that person shuts down because of the temporary gains the person gets from you. We shut down their creative juice. We shut down their ability to make money. Because look at this. Let's say you have a pressing need ahead of you, and you really need money. The truth is, you look for every way, you do everything you can do to get it. But if somebody consistently gives you handouts, you will not be able to produce or solve somebody's problem that will make you get paid. So what you do is this: you shut down the ability of the person to be fruitful, and you consistently support that. So what you would have done is call the person and tell the person, okay, let's look for a skill that you can develop. All right, develop this skill. Once you have developed the skill, this is what we'll do. We will now finance the training process. Guys, one thing I have found out is this is some of these people will just leave you alone because they have mastered the art of benefiting on other people, of feeding off other people. Yeah, there will be a few that would say, that's what I've been looking for. Or some people would have said, wow, thank you, even if they've not been thinking about it. So, let's not consistently empower people to be unproductive. All right, the fourth thing people say is this. They say it's an emergency. So if it's an emergency, plan for it. I have spoken with people, I have read books, and I have found out that most rich people plan for their emergencies. I say, but it's an emergency, something you have not planned for. That's why you plan for it. I'm going to talk about how you can plan for that emergency today. Another example that excuse that people give is, I had to attend to it because that person had an emergency. Many times, people wait till things deteriorate, and then it now becomes an emergency, and then puts that pressure on someone else so that they can manage their emergency. Exactly. Yeah, so Sheyi Oni says, if it's an emergency, plan for it. I'm going to tell you how you can plan for emergencies. So these things are it's not like these things are not things that are not being done. I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm going to give you an example to buttress this last point, which says that this person, it's an emergency, and then the person had to call me. So there was this lady, and she gave birth to the first child. When she was giving birth to the first child, she called my wife, and when she called her, she was like, I've given birth, blah, blah, blah. I'm in the hospital. I need some support, blah, blah, blah. And of course, what did she do? She supported, and the lady was discharged from the hospital. 3 years later, this lady called the same person again and said, hey, madam, how are you doing? That's someone that you have not even built a conversation with. And she's like, oh, I gave birth. I just gave birth. The person that I don't even know that was pregnant, like, I just gave birth. I was like, okay. So it's like, but we need to sort the hospital bills. She's like, jeez. Well, she asked, my wife tends to have a good heart, and she's like, okay, how much is this? She said 80,000 naira. I can remember this vividly. 80,000 naira. And I was like, okay. So we now had someone that gave birth in that same hospital through cesarean section. So we called this person and asked, okay, what's the range like? Even with that cesarean section, it wasn't even up to 80,000 naira. So it was obvious that this lady had started something else, and like, okay, I can always make money off this whenever it happens. All right. So she decided to. So at that point, my wife was now like, okay, I don't think this lady should be supported. Well, at that point I said, you see. So, for instance, look at this lady. One, she converted her own emergency to someone else's emergency. And secondly, she had shut down her creative juice. And even 2 years after, when she wanted to give birth, she had to call the same person. She had a husband. So what am I saying is we actually empower most of those people. And also, do not let other people's emergency become your emergency. Plan for your emergencies. Okay, so I'm going to show you a few things that you're going to be able to do. All right, so now let's talk about 2025. All right, how do you manage your expenses in 2025? What are you supposed to do? Okay, so when I was preparing for this class, I was just like, okay, let's talk about the word manage. All right. When people talk about manage, they mean you should be mighty of the resources that you have. That's what most people think. Okay? I mean, you should not give it all out. You should just take a few, take a little. But looking at the etymology of that word, to manage means to handle, train, or control a horse. All right? You know, in those days, I mean, people used our horses as a means of transportation. It means for you to be able to handle, train, or control a horse. Because it's from the old French word, managio. All right, so looking at this and then fixing it into our subject for today, how do you handle, train, or control your expenses in 2025? How do you ensure that it is not the horse, okay? It is not the expenses that is controlling, because this will happen. Many people, when they get money, when they get paid in the month, they now begin to behave like people that are demon possessed. What do they do? Spend, 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 spend. That's what people do. That's what many people do. Just spend. How can you live your life like that? Okay. So many people live like they are demon possessed. Once the money comes in, they just look for the way in which the money goes out. It's actually a subconscious thing. You're used to it. And interestingly, nobody teaches us about money. All right? So, how do you conduct yourself? How do you manage your outflows? Once you receive your income, what are you supposed to do? So I'm going to be talking about 5 things that you can do to be able to manage your expenses, to control, to train your money, all right? Because one thing about money is this: it appreciates. It is attracted to people who knows how to keep and multiply it. Money is attracted to people who knows how to keep and multiply it, not people who just look for how to push it away all the time. The reason you are not getting more money is because you have mastered the art of pushing money out all the time. So even money is not attracted to you. Money is not attracted to you. So the number one thing you need to do is to learn about money every day. As you go into the year 2025, learn about money every day. Every day. Right? Because you have not learned about it for the past 20, 30, maybe 40 years. It's time for you to get a master's degree in it. Right? It's time for you to get a master's degree in it. Many people, the last time in which they ever read any book or anything was when they were in the university, maybe like 10, 15 years ago. So even if you open their brain and dust it, you will see cobwebs there because it has not been refreshed. And most of these people, you find out that they will spend all the time on social media. They are not learning about money. No matter how beautiful a lady looks, you cannot say that when you need a surgery, because of her beauty, she should be the one to operate on you. She needs to learn it. She needs to have been skilled. You would rather prefer an ugly doctor to cut you open than for a beautiful lady that doesn't know anything about medicine to come and perform a surgery on you. It's about learning, it's about training. It's not about how you look, it's not about the things that you do. Sorry, it's not about how you look, right? Let me put it that way. Learn about money. What is money? What's the history of money? How do I increase my earnings? How do I save? How do I spend? Because we just got a job and then started working. We did not learn how to spend. And we did not learn how to keep. So the first thing you want to do is for you to learn, okay, about money. Every day, 365 days, you can commit an hour every day. And if you join our community, we'll give you materials that will help you. We'll give you materials that will help you. All right? The second thing you need to do is to practice the things you have learned. Do what the book says, practice it. And when you practice it, you will make mistakes. And mistakes are part of the job. Mistakes are part of it. Do you know that failure, mistakes have been programmed into life to be teachers? Practice the things you learn. Get your fingers burnt once in a while. Don't risk everything. Risk a little. You would also be told the things, when you begin to learn, you would be told the things that are low risk, the things that are medium risk, the investments that are high risk. And guess what? You should try everything. Some people say, oh no, I'm not a risk taker, so I will go for the low risk. If you go for low risk all the time, before you get to the top of the ladder, it will take a long time. So that is why you must be able to play in the midst of these three: the low risk, the medium risk, the high risk. You need everything, especially when you're still young. You're still younger than your 40s or mid 40s. You can still take some high risk, because a time comes when it is difficult for you to absorb the effects of those shocks. So this is the time for you to begin to practice. James chapter 1 verse 23 says, be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourself. So, whenever you hear things and you don't practice it, the scriptures refer to you as a deceiver of yourself. How does that look? You just wake up and say, today I'm going to deceive myself once more. Because some people can take the volume of books, read and all that. They know everything about money, even before you quote them, but they don't practice. There's a song that says, preacher, do you practice what you preach? So that's the second thing you should do. Practice the things you have learned. The third thing is to plan your expenses. Plan your expenses. Plan your spendings. Plan how you will spend the money. All right? So there are three things you need to do in this case. The first thing is to budget. All right? Budget. Budget for food, budget for fuel, budget for your training. Many people budget for everything, but they do not budget for their education. You are supposed to get educated every year. Get educated every year. That old self of yours cannot become that person that's in your vision. Because you know that the realities of life always changes. Okay, so if somebody says, oh, because I know how to use the typewriter well, I'm going to be a clerk using typewriter all through my life, such a person would have gone obsolete. Because who hardly uses typewriter? Who uses typewriter again? Well, I think I saw one 2 years ago. That was strange. But nobody would use them. So you need to train every year. Commit yourself to a level of training every year. So you should also budget your giving. And that's where I'm going to, because I have said something that could be controversial. Earlier. Plan your giving. So this is it. When it comes to giving, you should always give a cap to your giving monthly. If you're a monthly earner, let it have a cap. Let it have a maximum. All right. I will not tell you what those details should be, but you should have a cap on it. Plan your giving. So if anybody now comes and then the value is above that, you know that it is not in the budget. Give the person what you can do. Anything that is not in your budget, right? Anything that is not in your budget can wait. So already factor it in. And that's what I do. I have my cap for it. And sometimes I'm unable to use up the cap. So plan your giving. All right, budget it. Don't just let somebody come and then say, okay, I need 200,000 naira. And then because you have 200,000 naira in your account, you now go there and then fetch it out. No, plan it. You know what I do is this. There are some of my income that I put in an account that I will need to go to the bank to go and withdraw. So even if there's an issue, I have to plan it too. I have to plan it because you are not meant to solve everybody's problem. You are not meant to solve everybody's problem. Don't let anybody say, oh, you are the only person that can solve my problem. The truth is, there are many other people that they can ask. But your efforts should be on improving their person and not just dumping money into their pockets. All right. When it comes to planning your expenses, another thing you should do is to have no spending days. No spending days. So there are days that you should refrain from spending. There are days that you should refrain from spending. If you want to be able to control, so many people, giving or spending has become an emotion. So one of the things that I do is that once I get an income, the next day after that, I am not spending money so that I can think, I can reason, I can ask myself questions. So the first day, you are not spending any money, right? No, you are not spending jack. So it helps you to learn refrain. All right, helps you to learn refrain, that I can see this money and not touch it. Some people do it monthly, some people do it weekly. I mean, appoint a day in the week and say, on this day, I don't spend no money. All right. Another thing you can do, all right, to plan your expenses is to have priority beneficiary list. All right. You should have priority beneficiary list. So you have a family member that has a disease that you need to attend. It should be on your priority beneficiary list. You have your parents should be on your priority beneficiary list. So under planning your expenses, I have 3 things and I have mentioned them. The first is budget. Budget the money. The second is have no spending days. Okay, and the third is have a priority beneficiary list. In that priority beneficiary list, if any other person comes later, yeah, you can assist them, you can support them, but they are not your priority because you can't attend to everybody's need. All right, so let's go back to the 5 things you need to do. I have said the first is to learn about money every day in the next 365 days. All right. The second thing is to practice your learnings, the things you learn, practice them. The third one is to plan your expenses. All right. And the fourth is to grow an emergency fund. Okay, have an emergency fund. That fund that will always bail you out. I told you that it can be planned. I told you that people plan their emergency funds and that you should do that too. So, how then do you plan your emergency funds? All right. So this is it. Emergency fund, since emergency funds can bail you from many things, like, okay, your car suddenly breaks down. That's one thing. You need to do a home repairs. It's not every time you have to call your landlord when anything coughs in the house. That's what your emergency funds will do. There's a medical emergency, something that maybe your HMO does not cater for. And for many people in this part of the world that don't use HMO, medical emergencies, you have to get into your emergency fund. And sometimes it's a family emergency. You need to dip your hand into it. So, what is it supposed to look like? All right. An emergency fund should be like a 3 to 6 months of your living expenses kept safe in an account. 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. And what is living expenses? So this is it. You calculate how much you spend monthly. All right. So let's say you earn, say, 500k, and monthly you spend 300k. All right. The 300k is your living expense. Okay. Yeah, so this is what you do. That 300K, multiply it by 12, making 3.6 million. All right. So that means you spend 3.6 million every year. Your emergency fund should be like 3 months of that living expenses. That's where you start from. Say, okay, I want to first have 3 months of my living expenses. Since I spend 300K every month, all right, the first stage is to be able to have 900,000, because that's the salary, the expense for 3 months. The first thing is to have 900,000 naira stored up in an account as your emergency fund. So you can decide to begin to build this emergency fund by saying, okay, let me do 10%. Okay, let me save 10% out of my monthly income into this fund every month. Or you can decide to go the brazen way and do 25% of your living expenses every month. So that means if you spend 300,000 every month, you are keeping 75K monthly, right? And that is going to form your emergency fund. So at the end of 1 year, if you're doing 25%, at the end of 1 year, you would have saved 3 months of your living expenses. 3 months, you would already have that at the end of 1 year. So if you're doing 25%, so you have this emergency fund so that it can bail you in this situation. And then any other money you have, all right, that is apart from your living expenses, you can then decide to invest it. I'm going to be talking more about that next week. All right. The fifth thing I think you should do is to sleep over rate. All right. Sleep over expenses. So let's say you have an expense that is knocking at your door, and that expense is about 5% of your monthly income. Sleep over it. Or, you have this spirit that looks at, when you're driving, when you're off the road, you see this cloth. And then when you get there, you are told that this is going to cost like 5% of your monthly income. What should you do? Go home and sleep over it. You cannot manage your expenses without the test of discipline. You cannot manage your expenses without the test of discipline. Discipline is the ability to look away when you think you need it. Discipline is the ability to take a step you need as against getting the things you want. Right? So sleep over it. Once it's above 5% of your monthly income, sleep over it. Have a nap. Think about it as you go to bed. Don't buy it. So what would that push you to? If you want to be able to afford these things, then you will look for a way to increase your income. Because if you are able to do that, then you know that what you have to sleep over is less. And some people will not even have a sleepful night because that thing is still ringing in their heads. You cannot manage your expenses without passing the test of discipline. You need to pass the test of discipline. You need to be able to keep your hands in your pocket when you feel like letting it out. So why do you need to manage your expenses? You need to manage your expenses so that you can have breathing room to be able to build your emergency savings, so that you can have breathing room to be able to build your investments. All right. Next week, I'm going to talk more about how you can increase your income in this challenging economy. Wow. And I'll be glad to share that with you. All right. So that's going to be all for this evening. I hope you have learned a couple of things. If you don't mind, you can drop for me the things that were so profound for you in this class. I want to say thank you to Sheyoni. He has helped everyone to drop those nuggets that I have shared this evening. And guys, what is it that you have learned? Kindly drop it here. Let others say it and let others be able to learn from it. Because some of the things that I said, you will see it in a different light. What if you can share it for someone else to learn from it? Even for people who are unable to watch the video all through, they can pick one or two things from this. All right. I hope that this has helped you, and I hope that it is something that you are willing to do. All right. So I also want to say a big thank you to those that are in the 30-day challenge. Wow, I got a lot of testimonials and I'm so glad for those testimonials. But I've not taken permission from you to read your testimonials. But when I do, I'll be glad to share it. I want to say a big thank you to everyone. All right, so okay, Felicia says, I have learned to sleep over it and not be spontaneous in making purchases. Beautiful, beautiful. This is all you've learned. I mean, it's a lot. And other people can make use of the sleep over it. Once it's above 5% of your monthly income. So just do whatever your monthly income is, multiply it by 0.05. You know that that's your benchmark and then you have to sleep over it. All right. So I'll be waiting for other people's comments. All right. After this live session, please make sure you drop it and I'll see you on the other side. All right. So thank you all for being part of this. I really appreciate you. I love you all. Join me next week as we talk about how to increase your income. I cannot wait to share with you. All right. Then try to invite a friend next time. All right. Thank you all. It's good to have you here. See you next week. Thank you.